Hello, everyone. Hello, teammates. Welcome to this edition of the fourth quarter. My name is Sean J. McCaw, and I'm your host. The goal of this series is to inform, educate, and hopefully entertain you while giving the viewer a little bit of insight to European basketball. It doesn't matter if you are someone who would like to play overseas, or if you're a vet overseas, or if you're just a casual basketball fan. I believe that this format will give everyone a little bit of information that they never knew before, and that's the ultimate goal. My guest for tonight's fourth quarter is a person that I have a lot of respect for. I was also a guest on her podcast, The Athlete's Advocate, not too long ago, and she is definitely on the rise, not just on the court, but also with what she does outside of basketball. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Acheil Tac is my guest, and she is 28 years old from Texas in America, and she is currently playing in Antalya, Turkey. She's a published author that has written the book, The Reality Behind the Glamour of College Athletics. You can pick it up on Amazon. I will also provide a link later. This is her sixth season overseas. She's played in countries such as Switzerland, Greece, the Czech Republic, Italy, and Turkey. I asked Acheil to come on to discuss Chapter 7 in my book, The European Arrival, which focuses on the first weeks of your arrival in your European destination, what you should expect, what to look out for, and things like that. That comes from this beautiful book right here, Same Name, Different Game, Your Guide to a Successful European Rookie Season. So let me add my guest in here. Where is she? There. Let's get her in here. Accept. Did not work. There we go. There we go. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. I am very, very happy that you joined my little show, and we're going to talk about a lot of topics. But first, let the viewers know exactly what the Athlete's Advocate is about, and as well a little bit about what your book is about.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on. Super excited to be on. I think what you're doing is great. So the Athlete's Advocate, I created it when I was hurt the 2020-2021 season. Mm-hmm. And it was basically an extension of my book, The Reality Behind the Glamour of College Athletics. And my goal was to highlight advocates out there that are just doing the work, whether it's on the court or off the court, and are inspiring, educating, just providing information that's missing out there for a lot of these athletes to kind of guide them into their next, stage in life. And it was an extension of my book, The Reality Behind the Glamour of College Athletics, which I wrote my 2019-2020 season. And it was inspired by my journey in college. After going through that whole process, I found out a lot of things that a lot of athletes don't know when they go into that situation. Right. And so I took it upon myself to just kind of pass my information on and talk to other athletes and kind of get their experiences and everything, and just package it and be like, hey, here, college athletes, high school athletes, this is what you need to know before you go. And then obviously college athletes, this is what you need to do to prepare for real life after, you graduate and everything. And so they kind of intertwined together. But after I wrote the book, I was like, hey, I need a platform where I can continue to find these athletes that are just willing to share their experiences and willing to speak out about various topics that we as athletes struggle with every day. And so that's kind of how it came about.
That's really important. I mean, we're kind of like in the same lane of what we're trying to accomplish, and I think your work is inspiring, and I'm a big fan. You know that already. So I'm just really glad that you took some time out of your night. You look pretty good for someone who probably just got out of practice, right?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Did you rush home? Did you rush home and get to it?
I had to rush home, brush my hair real quick,
Okay. So here's the rules of the game. Basically, you have 10 minutes where I'll ask you different questions on Chapter 7 of the book about the European arrival. And after that, we'll go into a little overtime where I'll ask you kind of rapid fire questions for the last 2 minutes. It takes 2 minutes or so. Everything should last about 30 minutes in total. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing some of these answers. You and I have already had a chance to do an interview on your podcast, and now I'm really pleased that you're on my show. So I have to start the clock here. Okay, so ready?
Yep.
Jump ball. All right. After you signed your first contract overseas, how long did it take you before you got on the plane?
After I signed my first contract?
Right.
It was about like that week after, like literally.
So like basically a week after you signed the contract, you were on the bird going overseas.
Yeah, usually so the contract stage takes the longest, right? Because you're going back and forth, you're fixing things, or you're turning teams down. But after you choose a team and you choose that contract, they are so quick to buy that flight. Right. Yeah, they're so quick to buy that flight. And most teams are like, can you come tomorrow? And you're just like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? Like, I need to prepare myself. But yeah, it happens so quick after you sign that contract and you're like, hey, yeah, I want to join that team. You know, I want to be part of that culture, and I want to go to that country. Everything else just happens, you know, quickly after that.
That's a good lead in to my next question, because the next question was, did you have all your affairs in order? Like, did you have your passport? Did you have your bank account stuff set up for overseas? Or did you have, packed, everything that you needed to take care of at home before going overseas?
So, okay, so in terms of like travel documents, your agent should have your back, right? So before you even sign overseas, you need to have your passport. Yeah. That's it, you know? And then certain countries require visas. So your agent will tell you, like, if you're seriously considering this contract, this team, you should know they require a visa, you know? And obviously the team will tell you, they will tell you where to go, set up the appointment. They will give you like everything, you know, that you need, and they'll pay for it, all that stuff. But as far as like personal stuff, I was never ready. You know, I played 4 seasons now, and I'm never ready to just pick up and leave. You know, there's things that you just kind of need to get together. You need to buy stuff, or you need to prepare, or whatever you need to do. You know, our finances are in the States, so if you're paying your rent in the States or whatever you need to do personally, you need to take care of that before you go abroad for 9 months, you know?
Right.
And most athletes don't really care about getting mobile plans where they can still, like, you know, communicate back home. They're just like, well, I'm overseas. I'm just going to try and live here for 9 months. And so if you're the type of athlete where you don't really need to get a certain type of package for that country to be able to communicate back home and just call without using WhatsApp or Wi-Fi, then you need to take care of all of your affairs, and then you can go. But for me personally, you know, all the travel documents, I usually get them done in time and everything. But then when it comes to the personal stuff, just making sure I get the right things to pack and call the right people and set up certain appointments and everything. Yeah, I'm never ready for that.
What do you take into or what did you take into consideration when it was time to pack, like the weather, and did you check out where you were going? I mean, of course you knew where you were going by then, but did that play a part in how you packed?
It did, yes. And I get it wrong every time. I get it wrong every time. So I'll look up the country, you know, I'll look up the city I'll be in. I'll check the weather. Okay, around this time it's kind of hotter than, you know, and then it gets cold. But usually, like, and your agent as well will communicate, like, hey, I'm familiar with this place, so prepare this way. And sometimes I'll listen to my agent, and it'll be like the complete opposite, where I'll come and I'm like, okay, that country, it's like kind of summery, you know, they're still in that summer stage, and I can just buy jackets and stuff when I get there, so I don't have to overpack. But then I get here, it's like already cold, and I'm just like, you know, I need to go to the store now. So the packing, I'm sure there's a lot of athletes that have that down, you know, but most of us are just kind of wink it every time, because it's really hard to try and pack, you know, for these things. I think the one thing that I get right is the athletic stuff, you know. I'm not forgetting my socks, my compression shorts, you know, workout gear, my shoes. Those are basketball things I'm never forgetting. But when it comes to like personal stuff, you know, I struggle with those things. Yeah.
You are so on point because you're just leading me into my next questions right now. Did you pack things like also on the basketball side, like regeneration things? I don't know. Now they have those leg sleeves, ibuprofen. Um, I don't know, Bengay. I don't know, whatever kind of creams you think you might need. Did you think about that before you came over as well?
Yes, and as you go through this process and you play a really long time, you kind of start to understand what you really need, so you don't overthink
Mm,
it. But your
right.
first professional season, you're either gonna be underwhelmed or overwhelmed. You're either
Hmm.
gonna pack too much and feel like you're having to take your whole house, or you're gonna underpack and feel like, oh well, I can just get it there, I can just get it there. But I
Hmm.
think the most important thing to remember is you're going to a whole new country where
Right.
they might not have ibuprofen, they'll have something else, but it's in like their language and you're struggling to understand exactly what drug it is. But yeah, my first professional season, I didn't pack any ibuprofens or anything like that. It was just like, we're just
You're
gonna have to
flying
figure it
blind.
out. Yeah. But then obviously I learned, and every season I packed, Tylenol, ibuprofen, especially as a woman. I pack all my basketball stuff. I used to wear a knee brace, so made sure to pack that. Anything I need for recovery that I have,
Hmm.
I always pack that. Obviously, my
Good.
shoes, more than one pair, and just everything that I'm gonna need to be comfortable on the court and do what I need to do. And obviously your team's gonna have some stuff, some resources, and everything you can use. But make sure you bring enough for you, and then
Right.
try to seek what else you need from the team and all those that are there to support you.
Did you feel on your very first season, did you feel like your agent had thoroughly walked you through what you were about to face maybe the first couple of weeks after you got to your European destination?
No, I know. Like,
Was that because you didn't ask questions, or was it because the agent just didn't, that wasn't what the agent was doing?
I think it's a combination of both. Okay, so my first pro season, first of all, as an athlete coming out of college, you're already thinking a certain way about that particular situation because maybe you've heard things or stories, that people tell you. And I think one thing to note is a lot of athletes don't really tell the truth about overseas life. They don't
To
really
each
tell
other.
you yeah, or
Mhm.
they'll tell you, or maybe you'll talk to someone that had a really good experience. You know what I mean? So then it's like you're not really getting the whole holistic view. So my first season, I talked to my agent. They told me what I need to know in terms of basketball,
Right.
um, the little bit I needed to know about basketball, right? And then the rest of it was just filled in with my assumptions of what I thought I was going to get into. But I think the other side of it that we don't think about is the culture, the people themselves, like your teammates. Yeah, you're coming to a new team, but the way they play basketball and the way they interact, their personalities affect you as well as a person
Hmm.
on the court and off the court. And so those are things that we need to kind of, keep our eyes on it and really try to maneuver around it and get to learn a little bit more. But
Hmm.
I don't think your first professional season, you can get all the information you need and you can be better off, but you won't understand it until you actually
Until you
go through it
experience it.
yourself. Yeah, until you
Mhm.
experience it yourself, I would say. But yeah,
Uh, um, when you first landed at your first destination, how long was it before you had practice or a game?
that week. Okay, so
Hmm.
so I got there, and most teams are on point with this, and most teams are not. But the medical exam, so
Right.
you get picked up right from the airport. You land, you get picked up. You can land either at night, in the morning, whatever your flight information is, right? So if you land at night, obviously you're going to sleep that night. You wake up the next day. They usually have appointments for you medically, and then after you get cleared, like you're on to practice. Like there's no, oh, let's give you a break to catch up, jet
No,
lag.
no, no consideration of your jet lag.
No consideration, because I mean their assumption is like you're coming prepared, like you're coming in shape, you're coming like focused, you're coming to play basketball. You're not coming to be like, well, they're American, so let's give them a couple more days or weeks
Mm-hmm.
to kind of adjust and then let's throw them in there. Most times you'll come and you'll have a game like either 2 days later or that weekend, and you're
Yes.
expected to play. Now they do have a small understanding of, okay, you just got off like a 13-hour flight, so we're not expecting you to just like be this, what we expect you to be. We'll give you a little bit of room,
Right.
to just kind of adjust. But mostly it's like you're a professional. Like you land and you're you're on it.
How did the domestic players treat you the first couple of weeks?
I mean, they're always nice at first, like hi, everything.
Reserved?
Yeah, and I think the relationship after depends on how you play and how you interact with them on the court. So if you come in cocky and you come in like I'm the best, I'm probably making more than all y'all combined, like, blah blah blah, then they'll probably look at you a certain way, because at the end of the day, most of those girls on the team are professional as well, and that team is their team. They're from that country,
Right.
So they also want respect from you, even though you are the import. You know what I mean? And so I think it's just a matter of respecting them while they have respect for you. But for me, my team, like, they were nice to me and everything. There was a point where I started feeling the relationship being shaky when they felt like maybe I was getting the ball too much or something. You know what I mean? Some
Jealousy.
do have problems. Yeah, some do have problems with that, even though the coach wants you to have the ball only. Like, they'll feel a type of way. And I think it's about, doing well and being who you're supposed to be, but also sharing the ball as well so they can give you the ball, when you need it and stuff. It's like you have to balance it out on your own. You know what I mean?
You have to be a good teammate.
Yeah, you got to be a good teammate, because at the end of the day, there's 5 people on a team. Yeah, you might be the best player or, the foreigner on the team, but it makes no sense for you to have your teammates hate you 9 months, for that season. Like, you're not going to have fun. First of all, those are people you're going to hang out with outside of the court, so you might as well get them to like you a little bit. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Were you expecting to have a great relationship with your pro coach as it was with your college coach when you first came over? Was that a dynamic that you even gave thought to?
So my first coach, me and my first professional coach, we had a great relationship, like better than the coaches I had in college. It was just an amazing relationship. And I think the difference is that, like, when you're professional, they tend to try and keep that professional relationship only. And then you kind of develop that personal relationship, obviously, because you're their athlete and you're there for 9 months. But there's not a lot of, like, I don't know how to explain this. So, like, when you're in college, it's a different experience, right? Because you're there for 4 years,
right?
But, like, they try to have a personal relationship with you as well. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's not like, oh, you're just an athlete. Like, oh, like, we love you, you're family. Over here is like, you're an athlete first, and if you do well as an athlete, maybe I like you as a personal person as well. You know what I mean?
That's really on point.
Yeah. So the order of that is different. So in the States, it's like, oh, let's form a personal relationship, and then you're an athlete, And then here it's like, you're an athlete, and then, like, if you do well, then we like you. If you don't do well, we don't like you, type of situation. Yeah. Right. But my relationship with my coach was great. Like, on and off the court, it was just amazing throughout the year.
How was it the first couple of weeks with the team management? Were they around, or were they intrusive? How was it the first couple of weeks with the management?
Yeah, I think the one thing that kind of threw me off when I came is that, like, everybody is there, even the president. Like, the president would visit practice, be at the games, like, on the bench sometimes, and I'm just like, I was thrown off by that. But yeah, they're very involved, and I think it's because you're held to a certain standard, and they want to be able to see that standard, right, in practice and in games and all that. And so they can make the decisions right away, like, okay, they're not playing good. I've seen it for myself. I don't need to hear from the coach. Like, it's done with. You know what I mean?
That's why those first impressions are huge.
They're huge, yeah. But the managers I've had throughout my career were great. Like, there when you needed something, you can call them at any time. Most of them were translators for me because they were the ones that understood English the most. So they were the ones that kind of just were like that middleman between me and the coach, or me and the team, or even me and the president when we needed to talk about something pertaining to me as an athlete, or something that I needed or was lacking, or if it's something with the apartment where I'm living, whatever. But most of the managers that I've had were very involved. Sometimes they'll have 2 managers, where the main manager is the one that kind of deals with, like, the money and stuff, and then the other one is the one that travels with the team, does stuff with the team. And then some teams, like, the main manager is also the manager that does stuff for the team, like, physically, that's there in practice, gets you whatever you need. So it just depends on, where you are and what kind of team, how big they are, and all of that.
Okay, I've got one last question for you on this round.
Okay.
What's something that you wish you knew about when you were a college senior about your first couple of weeks overseas? Some advice you would tell yourself.
One thing I wish I knew about just the basketball
About
side of things.
about purely the first couple of weeks of being overseas.
First couple of weeks. I think maybe changing your mindset before you get there, because as an athlete coming out of college, the system that you were under is so different, right? You're
Right.
very restricted. Like, you can only do this. This is your position. This is what we want you to do. If you don't do that, then we have other athletes that can do it. And when you're a professional, you're literally, they're relying on you to do everything. You
Right.
have the freedom. There's no leash, really. You know what I mean? You
Right.
are the team, basically. And so I think if I would have came in with that mindset of I'm free, I don't have any restrictions, I think it would have happened faster. Just me adapting to the team and that style of play. I think the second thing I would say is the style of play in Europe. It's a different.
You can't
game.
imagine it unless you're here.
Yeah, it's a different game. You would think, oh yeah, we're playing basketball, same courts and everything, nets, like height. Yeah, exactly.
Different game.
Yeah, it's a different game. Literally, like it's literally different, even though it's the same sport. And I think for those athletes that don't really have a successful career out here or struggle their first years because they don't understand how different it is. You know what I mean? You kind of have to start playing their style a little bit. If the reffing isn't the same, you're not going to get every call sometimes. They don't give you a call because you're American. Yeah, it sounds bad, but sometimes they're
That's
like,
life.
oh, yeah, she's tall or she's strong enough. She doesn't need a foul. And you're just like, But those are the two things I would say I wish I would have known before going into that experience.
Okay. So now we're heading into overtime. Just some short questions. This will be very interesting for me to hear your views on a couple of things here. So, name your all-time NBA starting five. Position doesn't matter.
Okay. Kevin Durant.
1.
Kobe Bryant.
2.
I would say, ooh, this is tough. This is tough. Kevin Garnett.
3.
Stephen Curry.
4.
And I would say Kyrie.
You didn't. You're the first guest that didn't have Jordan in there. I'm really disappointed. I'm
Really?
just really disappointed right now. I'm an old head, so let's move to the next question because I'm not going to get into this with you right now. Courtside seats: Rockets, Spurs, Mavs, or Dallas Wings?
You said what?
Courtside seats. What team?
Okay,
what team are you watching courtside? Rockets, Spurs, Mavs, or Dallas Wings?
I guess Spurs, Mavs, or Dallas Wings.
The Texas teams.
Listen, wait. Are you talking about like now or at a certain period of time?
We're talking about right now. Right now.
Oh, okay. Right now, I gotta support my women. I'll just go the Dallas Wings. I gotta support my women.
Good call. What basketball player would you compare your game to? Male or female, it doesn't matter. What's your game like? Give me a player.
I would say I used to always compare myself to Kevin Durant. I wouldn't say totally, just because of the type of things he does as a player, his total package. But I see glimpses of his game that I see in my game, and yeah, I would go with Kevin.
Okay.
Go with Kevin. Yeah.
Shaq or Olajuwon?
These questions. Oh.
You can only choose one.
As a total player, like the total package.
Both of them in their heyday, in their prime. Shaq or Olajuwon?
Shaq.
What's the best thing about being a pro?
The best thing about being a pro? I mean, there's so many benefits, but I think the number one thing is being able to live out your dream. You know what I mean? And not just living it out, but also making it into your career. A lot of people don't really have the opportunity to make their dream their career and earn on that, you know? So I think that would be I think that would be it right there.
What's the worst thing about being a pro?
It's a grind. It is a grind, man. It is a grind. It's I think the fact that it's a grind and the longevity of it is not long. Like you don't get a lot of years in this sport, you know, like although it's a career of ours, you know, most careers, like you can work for 20, 30, 50 years and then retire in the same job. But for us, it's like you get an opportunity for a second and then it might be gone the next second, you know?
Right.
So it's just about cherishing it. But I think that would be the worst thing about the sport is that there's so many things that can happen that can get you out of the game so quickly.
What do you remember your Welcome to Europe basketball moment?
Yes.
Let me hear
that moment was my first game. And remember earlier when I said the style of play is different?
Yeah.
There are certain moves that I was making that they were calling a travel. Every time I made, yes. And I'm just like, how is this a travel? And I think I had maybe 3 travel calls back to back. And I was just like, how is this a travel? And I think after my coach talked to me, he was like, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. I was like, all right, I'm not in the States anymore. We're not playing, you know, basketball in America. We're playing basketball in Europe. And so I think that's when I started to understand, like, you're in a different place, in a different position. So start kind of integrating the rules into your game. You know what I mean?
Right.
Adapt your game to
Right.
the rules so that you're not suffering the consequences every game. And I think that's when it was like, all right, you're in a different place. You're not in Kansas anymore.
No. I remember my first game. You're good if you only had 3 travels in a row. I think my first game I had like 7 with that American first step. Oh,
yes. Oh, that
terrible.
killed that first
Terrible.
step killed everybody. Like, it's like, what? And then the up and under. And the crazy thing is, like, throughout my career, I started to understand, like, it's not consistent throughout Europe. It's only certain places. So, like, certain places will tell you this is not okay. You go to the next league, and you're not doing it, and then all of a sudden you do it, and you try, and they're like, they didn't call it, you know? And so it's very inconsistent in Europe. So it's just like, just learn the rules.
You just have to adjust.
You just have to adjust, everywhere you
go. Give me one game day superstition.
Superstition?
That you have.
Every game I have to eat a banana before tip.
Okay.
If I don't, then I'm gonna be like, that's why I didn't have a good game, or that's why blah blah blah. Have
you ever like remembered shortly before and just stuffed the banana in your mouth?
I've forgotten because I'll take it with me, right? And I'll sit it like where the bench area is, like on a table or something. And then, you know, you do the little layup lines and everything, and all this. Sometimes like they'll just like start, you know, it's just quick. Like, all right, starting lineup, get out there. You're just like, wait. There's a routine here, you know. And so I was like, where's my banana? And I'll search for it, you know, get it in, and then, you know, go out. But I have to have that before every game. It's a combination of, like, you know, it's just my process, but also like how it makes me feel, you know, the energy it gives me right before I play, you know what I mean? So yeah.
What shoes are you currently playing in?
I think Kyrie's, actually. Yeah.
What do you look the most forward to after you retire?
What am I looking forward to the most after retiring? I don't think we're ever ready to accept the fact that we can't play the sport that we love. You know, obviously, realistically, you can't. But
Father
I
Time is
feel like,
undefeated.
yeah, it's really hard to like really grasp that and understand that even after you've retired. But I think what I'm looking for to the most is just continuing my growth, off the
Mm.
court, still being the same type of person, have the same type of resilience, and just that aggressive attitude, leadership and all that stuff. Continuing that and taking that character I have on the court and putting it into my career outside of basketball. Whether I stay within the sports realm, doing other things, or if I kind of branch off and do other things, I kind of want to keep the same mindset as an athlete, and apply it to other things in my life. So I think that's what I'm looking forward to see what kind of person I am, away from the ball a little bit.
Good. That was an excellent answer. It's maybe one of the best ones I've heard so far. So you hit the shot at the buzzer. That's it for the questions. Thank you very much for being a part of this format. I really enjoyed our short interview. Um, if there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. I'm there, you know. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I hope everything goes well for the rest of the season and for your life after basketball, but you got a lot of playing left to do. You're young. You'll be all right.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I think what you're doing is great. I think you're really inspiring a lot of athletes out there and providing the information that they need. So what you're doing in your space is really good, and I continue to pray for that growth for you, and to
Thank you.
continue to do what you're doing, because it's definitely needed. And I'm sure a lot of people have given you feedback about how you've helped them. And I read your book; it was amazing. It's easy to read, really easy to understand. As an athlete that is a fourth year, I'm still learning stuff that I didn't know before. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I've been in the game for a while. So thank you for having me, and just wishing you all the best.
Stay on for a second while I talk to the teammates. All right, so teammates, that's it for this edition of the fourth quarter. As usual, my call to action, please. If there was something that you found interesting, pass it on. If there's something that you think might interest someone you know, please pass it on, because what we're trying to do is just to reach a very broad audience and give that information that a lot of people will need to know. So thanks again for watching. I hope to see everybody next time, which will be January 4th. I'm going to take a little bit of a holiday break, and I think nobody wants to see my face on Christmas morning or something like that. So the topic of the next one will be preseason and European lifestyle. That's going to be a really good one. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll be talking about what a typical preseason looks like over here in Europe, and yeah, and how to get prepared for it. So that's it for today. Thanks again to my guest, and thank you guys and girls for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Old head out.